On March 2nd, 1949, the Old Lamplighter became a memory and a song, but not an occupation, as automatic streetlights started to shine, adding to the list of famous inventions by Ohioans. Today, as my channel's contribution to Project Homecoming, a collaboration of a dozen history YouTube channels, I discuss some of the many inventive milestones in the history of my home state, Ohio. Digging deeper, we find on this day the first automatic streetlights went into operation in New Milford, Connecticut. Prior to this development, electric street lamps, not to be confused with traffic control lights, had to be turned on manually or by timer regardless of lighting conditions. Mercury vapor type lamps were used since the early 1900s to light our streets, as these lights provide more light for less electricity than either incandescent or fluorescent lighting. Mercury vapor lamps are being replaced in the United States and Europe by other HID-type lights. With the use of photocells to turn the lights on only when needed, there would be light at dusk and in heavily overcast weather, and even in the rare solar eclipse. At the same time, electricity would be saved by the lights not coming on when not needed. The first city in the U.S. to have electric lights installed was Cleveland, Ohio, with the public square area lit up in 1879. And what about those pesky traffic control lights? Well, the first use of electric traffic lights was also in Cleveland, at East 105th Street and Euclid Avenue in 1914. Prior to the electric light, gas or oil lamps were used and had to be hand-operated by a police officer standing there, not much better than just directing traffic. The first green, yellow, red pattern lights were installed in 1920 in Detroit. As far as self-illumination for cars, the earliest models had acetylene or kerosene lamps, not very good and not safe. The first electric lights were very unreliable and could not take the pounding of being on primitive cars on primitive roads. It took Ohioan Charles Kettering to invent the integrated electrical system linking the car's starter, ignition, and lights. He invented the starter, too, on the 1912 Cadillac. Fittingly, the Cadillac was also the first car to have high-low beams that could be selected from inside the car instead of walking around to the front and changing them. Other automobile illumination milestones include sealed beam headlights in 1940, halogen headlights in 1962, not used in the U.S. until 1978, and high-intensity discharge HID lights in 1991. Sorry, Cadillac, it was a BMW first. The latest leap forward is the LED headlight that runs cool, uses little electricity, and lasts much longer than the other types. LEDs were first installed on the 2008 Lexus. Of course, drivers that feel the need for more than standard forward illumination have a wide variety of supplemental driving lights, fog lights, snowplow lights, off-road overhead light bars, and even daytime running lights that always come on automatically, even in daylight. Around 1915, taillights and brake lights started appearing, and in 1940, turn signal lights that would turn off automatically upon completion of the turn showed up. Anyone who has ever driven far from city lights on black nights knows the value of their car's illumination. A bit of the past is still observable in rural areas of the Midwest where horse-drawn Amish buggies and wagons prowl the dark byways with only a kerosene lantern to guide them and provide warning. It is not much warning. This fact is readily apparent every time a car or truck smashes into one and the baffled driver claims he just did not see it. As a question for my students and subscribers, what new developments in automotive lighting await us in the future? Please let us know in the comments section below this video. We just covered the first automatic streetlight, but did you know that this invention was just one of many invented by brilliant Ohioans? So let us now list 10 famous inventions by Ohioans. Number 10. Safety Hood Type Gas Mask, 1912. Garrett Morgan was born in Kentucky of former slaves, but lived in Ohio after age 14. His device saved many lives of firefighters and miners and was the basis for the gas masks of World War I. He also invented hair care products and a successful traffic control signal. Because of racial prejudice, he dressed up as an American Indian, pretending to be Native American. Morgan is one of the most famous African American inventors. Number 9. Freon Refrigerant, 1928. Charles Kettering's Freon replaced dangerous gases with a relatively safe and effective one for air conditioners and refrigerators. Kettering also invented leaded gasoline and the system that made diesel locomotives possible. In fact, Kettering holds more patents than any other American except Thomas Edison, another Ohioan. Number 8. Practical Arc Lights, 1877. Charles Brush was born and lived in Euclid, Ohio. He perfected the arc light to where it could actually be practical, as well as dynamo generators to supply the electricity for them. Downtown Cleveland was the first city to be lit by electric street lamps, the Brush arc light. Number 7. Timken Roller Bearing, Tapered Roller Bearing, 1898. Henry Timken, although born in Germany, moved his company to Canton, Ohio in 1901. His invention makes all modern rolling vehicles possible. Canton was chosen for the company to be close to Cleveland, Detroit, and Pittsburgh, the heart of steel and automobile production at the time. Number 6. Floating Soap, 1879. Procter & Gamble of St. Bernard, Ohio, merit credit for this invention. Contrary to popular mythology, ivory was not invented by accident, but was intentionally made to be a floating soap. Despite being pure and killing germs better than antibacterial soaps, ivory cleans a little too well, stripping the skin of oils and drying the skin out. New ivory formulations developed in the 1990s contain glycerin and other ingredients to make it kinder to skin, but does not float well. Number 5. Commercially produced baking yeast, 1868. Charles Fleischmann, also born in Germany, started his yeast business in Cincinnati. Fleischmann is responsible for inventing many yeast-producing machines, and modern commercial baking would be impossible without his contributions. Fleischmann's is not only the largest producer of yeast, but is the second largest producer of vinegar and the first producer of gin in the U.S. Number 4. Cash Register, 1879. James Ritty hails from Dayton, Ohio. His invention was called Ritty's Incorruptible Cashier and became the foundation for the National Cash Register Company, NCR, which today manufactures a wide range of electronic products as well as cash registers. Ritty sold his stake in the business before it became fabulously successful, and Charles Kettering invented the first electric-powered cash register for the company in 1906. NCR was the first company to have think signs posted around workspaces. Obviously, the signs worked. Number 3. Automobile Electric Starter, 1911. Charles Kettering, born in Ashland County, lived his adult life in Dayton. Kettering was head of research at General Motors for 27 years and was the founder of Delco. He also invented colored car paint and had 186 patents. He invented the first powered aerial missile, the Kettering Bug. His invention of the electric self-starter was first introduced by Cadillac in 1912, the first car that did not have to be hand-cranked to start the motor. Oddly enough, those first electric starters doubled their duty as the generator for the car once it was started. Number 2. The Airplane, 1903. The Wright brothers, Orville was born in Dayton, Ohio, while Wilbur was born in Indiana, both lived and worked in Dayton. Orville was piloting the airplane when Thomas Selfridge became the first airplane crash fatality in 1908. As many other inventors were working on producing a viable airplane at the same time as the Wright brothers, you may sometimes hear of claims made by other inventors to have been the first in flight, but most historians are confident that the Wrights were the first to make a manned, powered-controlled flight not launched by a catapult or by launching the device off a cliff. Other pretenders to the aviation throne were not properly documented or did not meet all the criteria for a manned, controllable, heavier-than-air powered airplane. Number 1. The first practical light bulb, 1879. Thomas Edison, born in Milan, Ohio, with 1,093 patents, is the king of inventors, and the light bulb is his masterpiece. Edison was also deaf all his adult life. With nifty devices such as the phonograph and records and the moving picture projector, Edison has touched all of our lives. Other inventors were also working on creating a practical light bulb at the same time Edison and his crew were working on the project. And although you may read or hear of claims by other people, such as Hiram Maxim, inventor of the machine gun, it is Edison's version that became the practical device that revolutionized lighting. Now, in the 21st century, a gigantic tide of change is replacing many of the incandescent electric light bulbs with fluorescent and LED varieties. As another question for my students and subscribers, what new developments await us in the future that writers will include in lists of great inventions? Please let us know in the comments section below this video. If History in Headlines is any indication, we know it will be something and it will not be that far away. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History in Headlines and become one of our patrons. We also encourage you to check out the Project Homecoming playlist for other videos about history YouTubers' hometowns, states, and/or countries. Your viewership is much appreciated.